Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Monday, June 1st, 2020. The significant impacts for today include wind over portions of the central Great Basin, including a large area of western Utah and eastern Nevada. And we are still seeing some pretty high temperatures in place over Utah and even up into southeast Idaho. These hot temperatures will stick with us through the week and expand over the west as well. And then finally, we will see some isolated mix of wet and dry thunderstorms over far western Nevada and into southeast Idaho. We will also have thunderstorms over the central Idaho mountains, but those are not considered critical. After today, the thunderstorms die down, and as do the winds, and we'll really just see the heat return for the work week. Past 24 hours of precipitation and lightning are shown here. Really just some light precip there over eastern Utah, and some very light precip over far western Nevada yesterday, with lightning activity limited to the higher elevations of eastern Utah. We did continue to see some new, generally small fires pop up in Utah yesterday, with our larger fires slowing down in their spread. Precipitation for the past 14 days is shown here with the observed amount on the left and the percent of normal on the right. We can still see that we have pretty dry areas over far western Nevada, southern Nevada, and over much of southern and eastern Utah, where conditions have been dry for quite some time. Shown here are the current ERC percentiles. Most of the values are below the 70th percentile, but across the far south and eastern Utah, those values are higher, even up to the 80th and close to the 90th percentile. And even though these values are somewhat lower, they are pretty high for the time of year. Taking a closer look at that, we can see over northwest Utah, those values are right on the historic record for the 10-year period of record. Over southeast Utah, where we've seen a couple of days of some mixed wet and dry thunderstorms, those ERCs have decreased just a bit down there. The sagebrush live fuel moistures are shown here for a couple of sites in northern Nevada and northeast Utah. Here in northern Nevada, those values are in between normal and record lows. And for northeast Utah, those values are slightly below average for the time of year, but still above the historical records. This morning's satellite imagery continues to show this broad area of low pressure off the southern California coast here. This continues to bring southwest flow into much of the Great Basin. We'll see increased winds due to that low in the central portions of the Great Basin. However, slightly cooler temperatures with higher RHs are still in place over far western Nevada and up into western Idaho. So for this afternoon, we do have high risk issued for much of western Utah and east central Nevada for those winds and low relative humidity. Further north and west over Nevada and western Idaho, northern Idaho, conditions are a little bit cooler with higher relative humidities today. So the areas where we're expecting the strongest winds are shown here, areas in pinks with gusts up to 35 to 40 miles an hour. Relative humidities are still pretty low over western Utah, eastern Nevada, and across the south as well, with slightly higher values across northwest Nevada and western Idaho. On Tuesday, we'll begin to see dryness and warming temperatures across Nevada as a little ridge builds in as this area of low pressure cuts off for a few days. So we'll still expect to see our highest fire danger over Utah and southern Nevada. Winds will be lighter on Tuesday as that low cuts off, and we should see generally calm winds area-wide, with that dryness expanding further north into Nevada and even southwest Idaho. Generally more of the same is expected on Wednesday, with continued hot and generally dry conditions area-wide. Winds will still be generally light for Utah and southern Nevada, but we may see them increase over northern Nevada and southwest Idaho, with continued low relative humidities across much of Nevada and Utah and into southern Idaho. The 3-day precipitation totals are shown here. Really not looking for much, just a little bit of some isolated thunderstorms over the higher elevations of southern Utah, along the Sierra Front, and then up into the central Idaho mountains as well. On Thursday, continued hot and dry conditions are expected over Utah and Nevada. Winds may still be a little bit breezy over northern Nevada. On Friday, The low that's been sitting off the Southern California coast will lift up and cross the Great Basin, which will draw some moisture into eastern Utah from the south, leading to an increase in thunderstorm activity over central and eastern Utah. And we'll also see this low from the Pacific Northwest beginning to move in, helping to enhance some possible shower and thunderstorm activity across Idaho and even portions of northern Nevada. We will also see wind speeds pick up quite a bit on Friday over western Nevada. So as we draw closer to Friday, this is the day where we'll start to see some major changes from just that hot and dry pattern, and we'll be looking for that day. On Saturday, continued shower and thunderstorm activity possible over northern Utah and up into eastern Idaho and western Wyoming, with gusty, dry conditions further south. As this low pressure moves into the Pacific Northwest, bringing some cooler temperatures into the Great Basin for the first part of next week. So we can see on Sunday, as that low tracks a little bit further east towards the Great Basin, we'll see higher chances of precipitation and cooler temperatures into Idaho and northern Nevada and even possibly northern Utah. The 7-day precip totals are shown here. We're really looking for that enhanced precipitation to come to the area Friday into the weekend, Friday across Utah, and then maybe more in the Saturday-Sunday timeframe across Idaho and northern Nevada. The extended period for June 8th to the 14th is shown here with cooler temperatures across the north, as we will still see the influence of that broad area of low pressure across the northwest and northern Rockies, and with a drier signal over Utah. This concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.